All right, everybody, it's Mike with Monkey Fab Garage, monkeyfabgarage.com. So, yeah, it's time for the weekly one take update on the Mustang. We got bits and pieces everywhere. Uh, yeah, so not a lot done, so it shouldn't take too terribly long. Nothing's really been changed here. We did the middle of the car wiring that we talked about last week, and we got all the stuff put in for our, oh, you can see it down here. What do they call this? Flex fuel sensor, and there's connectors down there. Oh, there they are for the trans brake and the trans temperature, and oh yeah, the shift position sensor guy, all that good stuff. All that stuff's just laying down there. So everything. So we just started at the front, did the engine because that's just easy. Fans, little valves and sensors and whatnot, and squared away the front. We went to the back, ran the power cables. So we did the whole, put this guy, and here we made this little plate with all of our fuses and relays that we need for all the stuff we're powering back here. Got the look at this. I got the backup cam wired in there where it's hardly visible. I realized the cam has another input. I don't know if I talked about this or not, but it has another input, and I had an extra camera just laying around for when. So when I bought my cheap Chinese radios, these are amazing for $60, $70. Mine didn't have a volume knob. Never ever get a radio without a volume knob. That's what I learned from that. I've been told that, but I ignored it. I thought I'd do better. I thought I was better. You always think you're better than the rest. But yeah, I got this guy. So this guy has a front cam or an auxiliary cam. So what we're gonna do is wire that guy in, which will sit on the back of the gas tank, and he can flip a switch, and he can watch as we're actually going to make it so it can move around. The gas tank has this nice little ledge. You guys see that right here? So it goes all the way around. We're just going to make a little tiny C-clamp guy for the camera, and then he can move it all around. It's got lights and everything, so you can point it right at his suspension, and he can watch his suspension work in real time, or he can flick a switch and turn on just the tail lights. I'm not the tail lights, the backup cam, or he can flip another switch and then it'll just come on when the rear view, when he puts it in reverse, right? It's a lot of explaining, Mike. So all that's in there. We ran all the heavy cables. Everything's got to be kind of like pinned down with zip ties, and we got all kinds of fancy boy zip ties. But I was real happy. Look at this carpet, man. Is this carpet? I thought that for sure my buddy had put this in, because I was like, man, it's too nice for it to be, as old as this car is, 81. And it was the original carpet. So I've been really trying hard not to tear up stuff, but we had to get behind there to get to the transmission. Everything's running through original garments. So that's been another kind of neat story of this, is I've been able to not have to drill really any holes through this guy. So cleaned up the carpet. We ran the power cables. I was able to run them down. This is the same way the factory stuff's ran over there. There's a brake line that was in here, but that's been removed. So it'll run down in that channel between the seat and the floor where I put a fancy little silicone pad just where it hits that bump. Just to be on the cautious side, it rolls up there. That's our main. Yeah, and then we got the alternator running through the firewall. The alternator's got to go all the way to the back because it's got the contactor for the shutting off our little thing. So that's all done. All this, and then, like I said, the middle stuff is piped up through here, and we have all of our wires ran. So I can give you a rundown if you guys care about this kind of stuff. These are all of our triggers and whatnot for the trunk. So behind that thing is all of our fuel pumps and reverse cam and radio hookup, all that good stuff. And then here is all of our most of our middle stuff, our trans brake and temp sensor, shift position sensor. And then on the other side, we have those three wires, the brown wires right back there, boop, boop, coming up from the back of the carpet. and that's our flex fuel sensor. So that's all the middle of the stuff. And then everything puked through the firewall here and there is our engine, chassis component kind of stuff. Now, all the factory stuff is kind of in here. Some of the stuff has been cut. I have it here. This is just, I think, the transmission stuff. I've already capped off. This is like all the stuff that was just cut, and it went to like the shifter or e-brake or something. So I'm gonna sort most of that out and see if there's a way I can tie in the original reverse lights, although I have it going on a whole separate circuit now. And that's it. So we have to track down all of the body stuff and figure out, not all, but we're going to track down the body stuff and figure out kind of where stuff goes and make sure that it's appropriately, either terminated or we know what it is, how to bring the power out into the main. I'm not really sure about that. A lot of wires were missing when we got the car. So how do I get how do I tie into the main fuse block over here? I like to use the cruise control buttons for the, trans brake and bump. And that means that we have to decipher some of these wires in the steering column. So that's what we're going to be doing. I'm going to be sitting in here with my ohms meter and stuff and figuring out what all these body wiring harness things are. We know where all these wires go, and they're all labeled, thank God. So you learn as you go, boys and girls. So I had been labeling them as I went, and then I looked inside and realized like half of the labels were laying on the ground because I bought these cheap guys right here like that, and I was trying to save money because I'm frugal. I was born poor. So the moral of that story was just go ahead and spend the extra money, make sure they stay on, because it'll be more useful to you once you've spent the time labeling them. When you come back a month or a week or whatever later, they're still labeled. That'll help. But we do have it all on a spreadsheet. So I went through there and labeled all those wires, so we know where they go. We just need to know, I have this, like I said before, these aren't horrible. They're not awesome, but they're not horrible. What I'm going to do, what I like to do with these is, I have pens for all this stuff, so it's actually really nice stuff. There's no complaints to be had, but I don't need 12 gauge wire, on these guys for the most part. And then these guys, like I said before, have like a really thick, sheathing, this stuff around it, super thick compared to like what we have. We carry our STL wire, so I think this is 12 gauge. So these should be comparable, and you'll see like it doesn't look like much, but it is much. And then all this stuff, like we can just reduce these down to like probably 20 or 18 gauge. And that just cleans this up, makes it much more presentable. We'll take out the stuff we don't need and clean this up. So I think we'll use this for our main, our injectors, and our coils. We'll have an extra one. We won't have any extra ones because I still have to figure out some stuff with the bump, the trans brake, some relays to make all the backup cameras and shift lights and whatnot work. But that's where we're at. Basically, we're just trying to tie the two together. And now that everything's in its place, we're going to figure out what in the car needs to be powered. And I got a clipboard somewhere around here. There's a clipboard, I promise you. Best thing I ever took from the Army. The best TA-50 the Army left me with, I think is a better way of saying that. I'd be in jail for a 50-cent clipboard. I don't even know if I actually got this one from the Army or not. Anyway, yeah. We got lots of paper, so we'll just take our paper, pen, and we will write down the mysteries of the universe and try to figure them out, try to work it out. Did you guys hear about the constipated mathematician? He worked them out with a pencil.